أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. My dear viewers, once again we come here on MTA International Gambia Studio for our MTA Kids Time. In this series we are talking about our God, our Allah. And then as I said, we will continue answering those bordering questions which you know that they are day and night making a lot of people to doubt the existence of Allah Almighty. So for that is the reason why we want to tackle those questions, so that at least we will able to have certainty in the belief of Allah Almighty with His help and mercy. So without wasting more time, we will start our program with the recitation from the Holy Quran as always usual. So we hear the recitation from Tahira. If of honor, please give us the recitation.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم هو الله الذي لا إله إلا هو عالم الغيب والشهادة هو الرحمن الرحيم هو الله الذي لا إله إلا هو الملك القدوس السلام المؤمن المهيمن العزيز الجبار المتكبر سبحان الله عما يشركون هو الله الخالق البارئ المصور له الأسماء الحسنى يسبح له ما في السماوات والأرض وهو العزيز الحكيم. Translation. He is Allah, and there is no God beside Him, the knower of the unseen and the seen. He is the gracious, the merciful. He is Allah, and there is no God beside Him, the sovereign, the Holy One, the source of peace, the bestower of security, the protector, the mighty, the subduer, the exalted. Holy is Allah, far above that which they associate with Him. He is Allah, the Creator, the Maker, the Fashioner. His are the most beautiful names. All that is in the heavens and the earth glorifies Him, and He is the mighty, the wise. Assalamu
alaikum. This is a very, very amazing recitation from the Holy Quran. And then the attributes of Allah Almighty that have been mentioned here, they are just heart-touching. I think this is one of the greatest verse of the Holy Quran we can find the attributes of Allah Almighty in. Although there are a lot. The entire Holy Quran, as I said, always we see that the Holy Quran is full of proof of the existence of Allah Almighty. And for that being the case, therefore, as Muslims, we are grateful to Allah Almighty for granting us such powerful evidence that can lead us to Him. Of course, she recited here a lot of attributes of Allah mentioned in this verse: Al-Malik, Al-Quddus, As-Salam, Al-Mu'min, Al-Muhaymin, Al-Aziz, Al-Jabbar, Al-Mutakabbir. Subhanallah ma yushrikun. And it says, Wallahu al-Khaliq, al-Barid, al-Musawwir, lahul asma'ul husna. This is Allah Almighty, who has the best, the most beautiful names. That is the sovereign, the holy, the mighty, the wise, the knower of the unseen, the creator, the fashioner, and such things like that. This is Allah Almighty. This is the one we believe in, and this is the reason why we must talk about Allah Almighty. This is the reason why we must help the young people to understand the true existence of Allah Almighty, so that in this turbulent world, in this confused world that we are in, they will be saved by Allah's mercy and grace. So without wasting more time, as I say, we go back to our question of the day. So today, by the grace of Allah Almighty, we will continue from where we stopped. In our previous episode, we talked about whether the universe has been has been created by chance, or whether it is by Allah's creation why it comes into existence, and then whether Allah Almighty is eternal, or whether it is the universe that is eternal. So for today on this episode, we will want to pick another question which we would like to ask from Brother Ibrahim. Please recite or read the question for us. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
The question is that how can God see without eyes, hear without ears, and speak without a tongue?
Thank you very much. It's a very amazing question, and then sometimes people ask and then they wonder, and it's a very genuine question. Of course, we need to understand this. We need to understand this at this very level. People say God speak, and people say God hear, and this is what we believe, right? We believe that Allah Almighty listens to our prayers. Allah Almighty say, "Udu'uni astajib lakum." He said, "Call me, I will answer to your call." But then we hear every single day people are saying, "Oh Allah, Allahu Akbar." They call in Allah Almighty. They never hear a sound coming from the mouth of Allah Almighty. And then you hear that this is Allah's doing, this is Allah's help, this is Allah's mercy, and Allah is seeing us. When somebody is about to do something that you know that it is unpleasing, and we learn that from the Holy Quran is unacceptable, they will tell you that Allah is seeing you. Or if somebody do something wrong to another person, say, "Okay, I will leave the matters to Allah Almighty because Allah sees you." But have you ever seen Allah's eye? We believe that Allah Almighty that's why the Holy Quran says in Shura that nothing in absolutely that you know that it look like Allah Almighty. It is not this eye that we have that Allah Almighty have. It is not this hand that we have, Allah Almighty have. But then we learn Allah Almighty have hand. In the Holy Quran, Surah Al-Fat, Allah Almighty says, "Inna allazina yubayi'unak, innama yubayi'una Allah, yadullah fawqa aydihim, innama yubayi'una Allah, yadullah fawqa aydihim. Faman nakatha fa innama yankutu ala nafsi. Wa man awfa bima ahada alayhullah, fasayu'ti ajran azima." It's not what we learn in the Holy Quran. When they were doing bayah, pledge allegiance, the companions, on the hands of the Holy Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, what did Allah Almighty say? That bayah that they take, that pledge that they take, it was Allah's hand. Yadullah fawqa aydihim. It was Allah's hand that was upon it, upon their hand. But they did not see the Allah's hand physically, right? So that's why we say it's a very genuine question. Allah Almighty have hands, Allah Almighty have eyes, but not these physical eyes. So everything, these are attributes of Allah Almighty that we are talking about. That's why it says the tongue, the eyes, and the ears are instruments that are created by God to help us, right? So we have our tongue to help us do something, right? What did the tongue help us to do? What do we use the tongue for? To speak, right? And what do we use the ear for? Ear for? To hear. What do we use the eye for? To see. You understand? So these are the things that we normally use them for. So that's why Allah the Almighty has created these things to help us do our action perfectly. If you don't have eye, can you see? If you don't have ear, can you hear? If you don't have tongue, can you speak? Practically impossible. So that's why it says they are simply tools created to suit our limited capabilities. God, the Creator, has unlimited capabilities, and as such does not need any such instrument. This is the reason why Allah the Almighty did not need such eyes, such ear, such nose, or such head. No. Because they are created for a purpose, for our limited capacity. Right now we are sitting here. What is happening in the mosque? Do we see it? Are we hearing what is happening there? Because we have a limited, you understand, these eyes and ears, they have a limited function to do. But Allah Almighty, is He limited to one place? Is He confined in one place? So why will He need this type of eyes? You understand? So that's why it says, He is all-powerful, He does everything and can do everything. Inna Allah ala kulli shay'in qadir. We learn from the Holy Quran every single time. And Allahu alam kulla shay'in. Allah Almighty know everything. Allahu alimun hakim, wallahu alimun hakim. And that he is knower of everything and the most wise. He says, he does everything and can do everything, except that which is inconsistent with his dignity or is opposed to his promise. That's why the Holy Quran says, وَلَن تَجِدَ لِسُنَّةِ اللَّهِ تَبْدِيلًا. In another place it says, أَوْ تَحْوِيلًا. You shall never find inconsistency in the Sunnah of Allah Almighty. We know he can kill somebody and bring him back to life, right? Does he does that on this earth? If you die, will you be ever come back here on this earth with your this physical body? But can Allah do it or not? He can do it. So these are the things we are saying, that Allah does everything, he can do everything, you understand? But then he only do things that are inconsistent of his sunnah, of his way of doing. He don't go against the way he do things. But that does not mean that he is limited. Explaining it a bit further, he said, we should remember that God is not only fully aware of what is happening in the entire universe, but is also aware of that which is going to happen in the future. Allah Almighty know what is going to happen in the future. Do we know? We only assume. But do we have a clear picture or clear information that is going to happen tomorrow? Do you know what is going to happen to you tomorrow? But it is Allah Almighty who knows this. He knows what is going to happen tomorrow, and he remembers everything, and he knows everything that has already happened. So that is only Allah who has that knowledge. We have limited knowledge. Our eyes are limited for seeing, our ears are limited for hearing. We only hear with a limited distance. Then Allah Almighty says, He is all-knowing. He knows everything. We as human beings do not know what the future is going to be unless He tells us. And that's why the prophets are able to tell you this is going to happen tomorrow, this is going to happen at that particular time, because they get the knowledge from where? And when they are saying, what will they say? Allah Almighty tell me. This is what they say. When they are telling you something will happen in the future, they will tell you, Allah Almighty convey to me. They shall never say, okay, I know out of my own knowledge that tomorrow or on this particular year, this is what is going to happen. We look at the story of Hazrat Yusuf alayhi salam, when the king got the dream, 7 lean cattle eating 7 fat cattle. Is that possible? Cats, those cattle eat cattle? Cattle eat grass, right? But this is a dream. But Hazrat Yusuf alayhi salam, with Allah's help, he was able to interpret 7 lean cattle eating 7 fat cattle, meaning 7 years you will have a bumper harvest. You will produce a lot. You will get a lot of harvest when you grow this. But the following 7 years, what will happen to you? There is going to be a famine. So they were blessed with that understanding. And the 7 years they were having bumper harvest, they keep a lot of material for the following 7 years, because there is going to be a drought and famine. If Allah Almighty did not convey the interpretation to Hazrat Yusuf, what will happen to them? They will be destroying, or they will be using it, you understand, without any care. They'll be enjoying for the 7 years. The following 7 years, they will suffer hunger and starvation. So that's why we are saying we only know the future when Allah Almighty tells us. And that's why when Yusuf was asked, he said, it's Allah Almighty who tell me. You understand? So that's why Allah Almighty does not need these physical eyes, because they are only limited. And tomorrow when the person dies, what is the purpose of the eyes? They will be open, but will they be seen? When the person dies, the mouth is there, the tongue is there, but will the tongue speak? So that's why Allah Almighty is the knower of everything. He is the powerful being. He is not limited to any single place. وَهُوَ فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ وَفِي الْأَرْضِ. So this is why Allah Almighty does not need this physical eyes. I think it's well understood. So thank you very much. They are saying that this is what time allowed us. We come to the end of another episode, and I hope we understood this very well. And by the grace of Allah Almighty, there's no doubt that when you are asked tomorrow, why Allah Almighty did not have eyes and tongues, and despite that he speak and he hear, then you have evidence, you have sufficient evidence from the Holy Quran and example as a result of this episode that we have talked about. So thank you very much, viewers. This is what time allowed us. We come to the end of another episode. We are talking about the question people say that, oh, this is the belief of Muslims, that Allah Almighty, he listens to our prayers and hears our prayers and accepts our prayers, and then he see whatever we are doing, and then he speak to his righteous servant. But despite that, people might ask question, we are not seeing Allah's eye, we are not seeing Allah's tongue, we are not seeing Allah's ear, but Allah is unlimited, unlike human beings. So this is the reason Allah Almighty does not need these eyes. So thank you very much until we come on your way here in MTA International Gambia Studio on the same series, Our God, Our Allah. I was your host, Syed Sambaso. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.